YouTube, Niner Empire, it's officially over. The 49ers and Deebo Samuel have reached an agreement on a contract extension, a massive contract extension here. This happened last night. I put out a post last night that basically said that I was going to talk about this deal today. So basically, as you guys may or may not already know, I'm sure a lot of you Niners fans do, the 49ers and Deebo Samuel, all the talk about him leaving, all the talk about him requesting a trade, that is all officially smashed into the ground. It was a roller coaster offseason that included a surprising trade request from Deebo. He scrubbed the 49ers on social media. While a half dozen other receivers were signing lucrative contracts, the final domino fell Sunday because the Niners and Deebo Samuel reached an agreement on a 3-year, $73.5 million extension that has $58.1 million guaranteed in the deal. Massive, massive payday for Deebo. A well-deserved payday for Deebo Samuel. He's the seventh wide receiver this season to sign a deal worth at least $24 million per year. Before this season, the only wide receiver that had did that and had reached the $24 million a year mark was Arizona Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. He did that when he was traded from Houston to Arizona, and with that, he was able to ink a massive contract extension with them. That was worth $24 million per year. But there are now 7 wide receivers that have reached the $24 million a year mark. Throwing names out there, I mean, obviously you got Tyreek Hill, who hit that mark. A.J. Brown hit that mark. DK Metcalf. Multiple receivers out there reached the $24 million a year mark. But obviously in striking that deal, the 49ers brought a peaceful end to a turbulent negotiation process that saw Deebo request a trade. One thing I will say about the 49ers throughout the whole process, they remained very, very confident that this was all going to blow over, that they were going to work through the differences and end up getting a deal done, and they did. The 49ers, they fielded trade offers back in April during the draft, but they never got anything close to what it would have taken to move on from him. In the weeks that followed, Deebo slowly came back into the fold. He attended the team's mandatory minicamp. He attended the full squad minicamp in June. And then obviously Deebo reported on time for the start of this year's training camp, which was a big step in the right direction, and which was good news that he reported to the training camp. But according to ESPN, him and Kyle Shanahan talked through the plan for him as camp opened. This was on Tuesday. They reportedly agreed that Deebo would do conditioning work on the side as the Niners and his reps continued hammering out a deal. At the time, John Lynch was more optimistic than ever that both sides would strike a deal. He said last week, and I talked about this in my most recent video, he said, "We've had really productive and substantive talks. I don't want to get everyone all excited that something is imminent because we are not there yet, but really hopeful that in the near future we'll be able to announce something that is exciting for everyone involved. Deebo is here today, and we are excited about moving forward with him as part of our team." And they did. They did everything that they said they were going to do. In signing Deebo, the 49ers retained their most productive offensive player. Obviously, you guys know last year Deebo coined the term wide back because of his ability to play receiver and running back. In this dual role, he emerged as a unique offensive threat, becoming the first player since 1999 and the third player in NFL history to have at least 1,000 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns, and 5 rushing touchdowns in the same season. Along the way, he averaged a league-leading 18.2 yards per catch and 6.2 yards per carry while scoring a combined 14 total touchdowns. That's pretty crazy. 14 total scores between receiving and rushing. His 1,770 yards from scrimmage ranked 3rd in the NFL, and his 8 rushing touchdowns were the most by a receiver in league history as he surged to All-Pro honors. Obviously, in 3 NFL seasons, he's had 167 receptions for 2,598 yards, 10 receiving touchdowns to go with it, 550 rushing yards, and 11 touchdowns on the ground. He's played in 38 games, missing 1 last year 9 in 2020, and he missed 1 in 2019. He missed 9 in 2020 due to that. I believe he had a foot injury or an ankle injury or something of that nature. But either way, when he's on the field, when he's healthy, we know how dangerous he is. And it finally happened. The 49ers were able to get a deal done. As soon as DK Metcalf signed his deal, and I think it was Friday when he signed it, as soon as he signed that deal, I knew that whatever Deebo was going to be paid was probably going to be something like that. And it really was. That's pretty much the same exact contract that DK and Deebo got. The only difference is that Deebo got he got more when it came to the maximum value of the contract. But really, in all reality, all 4 wide receivers from Tory Dandy's, I almost said Tony Dandy. All 4 receivers from Tony Dandy, from Tony Dandy's agency were paid. And they were paid very, very kindly as well. But the bottom line is that this is all done. Deebo's now going to be playing for the 49ers until he's 29 years old. And then when he turns 29, he has the ability to ink another massive contract extension. The way Tory Dandy does these deals with his players is really something to see. He is one of the best sports agents in football, along with Drew Rosenhaus. And during this season alone, everybody that's signed with Tory Dandy, having him as his agency, Tory Dandy in totality this season has inked contracts worth totaled up to $600 million this season. That's over $500 million that Tory Dandy was able to punch out with his players this season. It started, I believe it really started with Denzel Ward when he inked that massive contract extension. I believe Denzel Ward was paid over $100 million in his contract extension. And then obviously Tory Dandy had these receivers to get done: Deebo, DK, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown. The list goes on. One of the best sports agents in football inked another deal, and it was a massive deal with Deebo. So I'm glad really this is all kind of in the past now. It was always constant talks. If it wasn't talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, it was always talking about Deebo Samuel. So knowing that all those talks are over and there's not going to be any more questions asked on that is very, very relieving to hear. But obviously Deebo, the man deserves every bit of that money he was paid and more. He's a do-it-all player. He's the most important player we have on our offense. There's a lot of important players on offense like Kittle and Trent Williams and Kyle Juszczyk, but in terms of what they all mean to the team, Deebo's by far the most important. So I'm glad that both sides were able to strike a deal and get it done. Deebo's happy. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are happy. And most importantly, 49ers fans are happy. So Deebo is back for another 3 years. I get to wear this jersey for another 3 years. I just got this jersey in February. Or no. I got this jersey in about April or March. And literally a couple weeks after I got it, he requested a trade. So it feels a little good to be able to wear this jersey for next season. But either way, Deebo, contract extended, whopping $73.5 million over 3 seasons. Like I said, it includes $58.1 million guaranteed. Let me know what you guys think of this contract extension in the comment section down below. And Nick Bosa is next. I don't think Nick Bosa will be extended this season, but he's definitely probably going to be the first 49ers player extended for next season. So now we just look forward to Nick Bosa. But Deebo Samuel, we're so glad you're back.